all that good stuff. Okay, we came on this network, I would say about a month ago, okay, right in the middle of spring practices, and we kind of previewed the upcoming spring portal window. And we told you, man, the good teams, the really good teams, they tamper in September, they tamper in October, they tamper and pay the big money to get the big players in that December portal window. Now, why would they do that? There's a bunch of reasons. The most common reason would be, well, if I get a transfer in the December window, I can make sure that young man is available and on campus and practicing for us during spring practice. We get to evaluate him. We get to get that player up to speed with the rest of the offense or defense or whatever he plays. We get to onboard that athlete. It behooves us to tamper, get that kid out of the current school he's at, get him into the portal, get him onto our roster, and bring him in town and get him there in spring. That's the first and foremost thing, right? You get guys on campus, you get to onboard them earlier and a much higher rate, okay? Have them ready by the summer and competing for a job come fall. But also, right, in the spring, when the spring portal window opens, most of these conferences have interconference transfer rules now, okay? So though the NCAA is not out here fighting waivers, okay, conferences like the SEC have gone about making sure that in the spring you will not be stealing from other conference rivals rosters, okay? If you transfer out of Alabama right now, you will have to wait a year to play at an SEC school. So there has been also a narrowing of the pool and a narrowing of the options and the negotiating power for a lot of these young athletes that are trying or maybe wanting to hit the portal for a potential raise or a potential playing time increase or whatever have you, whatever it may be, whatever their reasoning is, there is a limitation on the amount of teams that can ultimately land them, right? And also, we have talked about leading up to this portal window and talking about during this portal window, guys, most of these football programs are relatively tapped for cash, okay? Most of them are pinned up against the, metaphorical salary cap that is out there right now in college football. What is the salary cap? Well, it is what your boosters are willing to pay on a month-to-month basis. That is essentially the cap that you're held responsible to at all these different universities, man. We've seen it all across the sport at major recruiting powerhouses, major roster acquisition places where whether it be booster dinners, hey, please give us some more money, or whether it be Ohio State already throwing the bag at everybody that was available in December, okay, or whether it be, I don't know, Oregon bought 2 quarterbacks this last transfer portal. I would imagine, even though, Phil Knight's out there, I would imagine the budgets are relatively tight up there, right? There's just not enough money left at this point, it seems, out on the open market. Every coach that I have talked to, okay, leading up to this portal and during the portal opening right now, every single coach I've talked to has been far more concerned with how in the hell am I going to afford to retain my own roster, let alone go out and poach somebody else's right now, okay? So going into it, we were kind of like, hey, man, don't expect major superstars to be hitting this portal. There might be 1 or 2, might be 2 or 3. But this whole idea that you're going to be able to flip your whole entire roster around in the spring portal window, that was a little bit outrageous to us here on this network. So we didn't expect anything too crazy. And I just never saw the reason to believe, guys, that this portal window was going to be some kind of just like groundbreaking, earth-shattering college football moment. That's left for December. Like I said, you got to get these guys in, and you poach during the season. You don't poach during the spring when you can't go even poach your own conference's rosters, which most of the elite programs are trying to do some interconference transferring, trying to get trying to get the better players off of the good teams in their current conference.
Yeah, I think the initial thought that this might be a busy portal window is just because the speculation that teams' checks might bounce, where, like we saw with the Caden Proctor thing where he goes to Iowa and then not even a month later he's back, he's going to enter the portal again and goes back to Alabama. So maybe stuff like that made some people kind of hopeful, like, hey, this might not be the only place this is happening, but it just never came to fruition, it seems. And the portal's still open, so who knows, some crazy shit could be happening. But I feel like the guys that were going to enter have already entered by now.
I would imagine there's still some laboring going on right now, right? I think there's still some poaching conversations being done, right? I think nowadays kids have understood that entering the portal is kind of the last thing you do in this process. The first process is making sure you got a home to pay you and give you a raise before you enter the portal and kind of torch your current residence, right?
Mm-hmm. I mean, too, spring portal window feels more like this is a situation where I have to go. Like, this is my last option. I feel like it is this is my only option. Like, if I want playing time, like, then I have to go. Whereas, like, the winter portal, when that opens up, like, there's so much more at play. I mean, you still have an entire spring to where, like, even if you're a 2 or 3 on a depth chart and you want to go earn a starting spot, you still got the off spring with your new program to go and earn that. Whereas now you're going in there, you're going for summer workouts, and you have fall, and you have like those 2 or 3 months leading up into this schedule to where you can feel like you can earn those reps. So there's just limited opportunity already, not only with the conferences saying that you have to set out a whole year, but also just availability of playing time and reps.
Here's the conversation I want to have, and it's kind of out there. Okay, it's tinfoil hat theory time. Okay, but we have talked about donor fatigue on this channel. It's across the sport. Every single donor and every single booster across college football right now is like, for the love of God, stop asking for money. For the love of God, I gave you money last month. For the love of God, how are you spending it so fast, right? There is donor fatigue all across the country except for Oregon and whenever John Ruiz is not under federal investigation down there in Miami. Other than those 2 programs, everybody else is kind of cash stricken. So let me ask you this, guys. There is no collective bargaining going on right now for players. We all know that. In fact, I don't even know if there will ever be an effective collective bargaining for all 8,000 Division I athletes playing college football, however many it is. So I think that's a little outrageous to ever believe. However, there are like 12, maybe 15 Power 4 football teams that kind of control player acquisition during this time of the year. It's the big spenders. It's the big, rosters that are out here trying to get better at all times. It's really the 12 to 15 teams that believe they're national champions or have an ability to do so. Now, what would stop those 12 to 15 teams who, by the way, reside in like 2 conferences, right? The SEC and the Big Ten. What would stop those teams from calling around, doing a little game of telephone, saying, "Hey, we're all experiencing donor fatigue. Let's not go out crazy this spring. Let's hang out and save our money for the fall." You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think that's outrageous to believe that 12 of the biggest power heads in the sport might get together and be like, "Hey, let's just take it easy this round, okay? My boosters are about to shoot me."
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a possibility. I think the thing that would be stopping that would just be, do you trust every other program? Be like, yeah, we're not going to spend the money. And then next thing you know, they're going out and spending money. Goes, oh, shit, the rest of these teams, they don't have the money. They just told us we can go out and get whoever we want now. So, I mean, it's always that tongue-in-cheek kind of stuff I think that you'd have to deal with. But no, I think you are right. I think that college football as a collective is kind of tired of just having to shell out money left and right to not only get players, but to keep players on their roster. So I think that, like you said, donor fatigue has set in, and it's kind of affected the way that the transfer portal is being utilized right now.
Now, the headline on that Barstool article I sent to you guys today about $36 million, whatever, that's misleading, I think, because it includes the coaches' salaries. So you can knock off $17 million right off the top, basically, because Day's making close to 10. And then the rest of the staff probably mounts up around
Chip
7.
Kelly,
yeah. So, I mean, Chip Kelly's probably making close to 3. I would imagine, maybe like 2.5. So, I think that was a little bit misleading, but you would assume their roster values of north of $20 million at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, it was at 13 in 2022. It's been 2 years since then, and he's added a plethora of talent. And by the way, retained some, like we told you last night, with some NFL caliber football players that came back for their 4th and final year in college football.